Yes, indeed.
The first flame quickly fades. Darkness will shortly settle. But one day, tiny flames will dance across the darkness. Ashen One, hearest thou my voice still?
Dark Souls 3 came out in 2016. Feel old yet? That was almost 7 years ago, and with Elden Ring's release and the servers getting shut down, this game is at an all-time low when it comes to players in duels or invasions or even just playing the game. So of course, I decided to make a video guide on a random weapon in this game. Don't really know why I did this, but hey, you clicked on the video. Now before you smash that dislike button, I know you're curious as to what weapon I could be talking about. And I know it's going to come as a surprise to you, but I'm actually going to be talking about the Lothric Knight Straightsword. So the R1s are really cool and great, and the R2s are even better. The weapon art is so good that no one ever uses it, because they know that as soon as they press that button, they would instantly obliterate anyone they fight, unless of course they're using a shield, in which case then it's just there, just in case, you know, because shields in this game are so strong. And yeah, let's just get into the montage, because I really want to show you why the Lothric Knight Straightsword is a completely underused weapon. So as you can see, I'm just kind of rolling around. I'm just trying to get for that singular R1, because I just tested R1 and I got R1 again. Like, is that a big attack? See, I roll out these things, like, why would I just straight up use R1? It's so good, that like rival.
Okay, f*** it. I'll hide. It's Follower Sabre. What you gonna do?
You got hey, that's pretty good. You find excessive force. I control that. That means relaxing the whole body so you react instantly without resistance. Without cripple a morbid
Good evening, Kirito. This is your boy, E.Pussy445. Very busy, filthy. Hi, I'm Saul Goodman. Did you know that you have rights? The Constitution says you do.
Better call Saul.
Now, before we get into the meat and potatoes of the video, you need to find yourself a Follower Sabre. Now, as we all know, the Dark Souls games are pay to win, so the Follower Sabre is, of course, in the Ashes of Ariandel DLC. You know, the one where you have that 3-phase boss fight. Yeah, that one, you know what I'm on about. So after you've destroyed the ladder, you can give yourselves rope burn by sliding all the way down, get onto these lovely route section, run along these routes, you know, just follow this little path that you can see that I'm taking in the video, and just avoid the arrows and you'll be fine, I'm sure. And then get yourself a lovely little Follower Sabre and you are ready to take on Lothric. And whilst you're here, you might as well go get the Champion's Ashes to unlock the Undead Arena. Just go down to the Ice Lake. If you didn't know how to do this before this video, then okay, interesting. Why are you here? But welcome anyway. Welcome to the seminar. Just take a seat at the back of the class, and I hope that this video is enjoyable to you, even if you have no idea what's going on. So, without further ado, let's just talk about the best weapon in Dark Souls 3. Now, an orthodox way to do this review would be to talk about the weapon, the different ways you can buff it, and its optimized builds, but I'm not going to do that in this video because this game has been out a while, and I feel if I did that, I would just be wasting everybody's time. And hopefully, I'll be able to give some tips that are more useful than the information that you'd just be able to find on the wiki. Now, I've pumped a lot of hours into this weapon, so you'd hope I'd be actually semi-competent when I'm using it.
Nope.
And I'm not going to be able to give you frame data either because because I'm not that much of a nerd.
Calculate the exact frame timing to parry my opponent on their respective latency, and then use up all my mental energy trying to predict exactly when they are going to attack so I can place my parry perfectly.
But I'll be able to give you as best I can from my own personal experience using this weapon, and I hope that some of the information is either new to you, and if it's not, well then just skip to the next video chapter. You are not being forced to be here. Please just don't bore yourself with my bad content. I don't want to be making it either. So if you're going to stick around, then thank you very much. I hope that this part of the video will show you exactly why the Follower Sabre is such an amazing weapon, even compared to all the other weapons in Dark Souls 3, and why you should be using it. As you may have guessed from the video chapter title, this is a curved sword. It's very similar to the Pontiff Knight curved sword. However, there is one significant detail. It is not the Pontiff Knight curved sword. You will not be doing your insane roll catching. If you are, then you're a better player than me, but it is not as easy to just R1 roll catch someone into a endless death chain like my friend often does to me. Shout out to user Nameless, really great guy. I love it when he uses the Pontiff Knight curved sword on R1s me to death. It makes me feel so good about the hundreds of hours I put into this one weapon and how it all gets Sorry about that. Due to the R1 speed being slightly slower than the Pontiff Knight, you can't just R1 and outspeed every other weapon. So what does the Follower Sabre have that the Pontiff Knight doesn't when it's objectively a better weapon? Well, about that, let's talk about Prying Wedge, otherwise known as the Follower Sabre's weapon art. What you just saw right there was a weapon art to R1 true combo to heavy attack trade to another R1 true combo. That pseudo combo almost always does over 1000 damage easily, and the best part is, that wasn't even the full combo. If you have enough stamina, that R1 will combo into another weapon art. And even if the stun lock has not held out quite as long as you'd like, due to the weapon art having incredible forward momentum, you are very likely to still catch a roll if your opponent panic rolls you. Is this what makes the Follower Sabre viable? Not quite. While this may be one of your most damaging combos and one of my favourites, we are not talking about what you can do after you've hit the first weapon art button. You can follow up with a heavy downswing, and this downswing is incredibly stacked. You have an incredible amount of poise whilst in the downswing frames. I just like to note here, this is not for the startup of this weapon art. If you get hit out of it, you can easily be stun locked out, denying you all the rest of your combos. But this poise is nothing to joke about. You can trade through spears, glaives, even some great swords. For a weapon that doesn't tend to do this, this can be quite the nuke in your back pocket. Let's take the Ring Knight Straight Sword as an example. This heavy downswing can easily push through a weapon up or any of the R1s. So how are we going to land that downswing? Well, Miyazaki in his infinite wisdom has made it incredibly easy for us. Almost too easy, in fact. You fool! This weapon has one of the longest delays I have ever seen. You can hold it for a solid 1 second. That may not sound like a long time, but hopefully from these clips you'll see that it actually is. Other players often have a tendency to rush in when you finish your combo but don't launch the heavy, obviously either thinking that you're out of stamina or that you don't actually have that heavy downswing. Because a lot of people do not see this weapon much, and that benefits it greatly. They don't know that that heavy downswing has such a long delay. I don't know why Miyazaki thought that this weapon needed to be so stacked in one singular department, but oh my goodness, I am so glad that he did. Now, for all you nerds that were paying close attention there, you'll have noticed that if you do hit them with a heavy downswing, and you don't even need to hit them with the rest of the weapon art, just a heavy downswing will do, that will then true combo into an R1. This is why I use it instead of the pointy curve sword. This is why it's still fun to use after hundreds of hours of just this one weapon. Being able to mix and match your attacks is what makes the Follower Sabre special. You can use a weapon art, you can then follow that up with R1, or if you're slightly less good on your stamina, you can throw a heavy attack if you just need a little bit more damage or need to play safer. You need to trade, you have your poise button. You need to roll catch, you can switch to a one-handed moveset to get more roll catches more easily. It is so versatile and so much fun to use with its aggressive playstyle that I will be using this weapon till the end of time. Or I guess until the servers finally get shut down.
Ready? Go!
Like we said in the last section of this video, the standout move on the Follower Sabre is the weapon art. So why would we use a weapon in the offhand that stops us from using the weapon art, that one essential piece of kit that makes this weapon viable? You'd like to think that using another weapon in the offhand can only benefit you. However, the Follower Sabre is fundamentally an offhand weapon when you want to dual wield. So is there any hope for me embracing my inner anime weeb and dual wielding Follower Sabre with rapier or greatsword in the offhand? Well, we're not out of the woods just yet. An offhand thrusting sword will always be viable in Dark Souls 3. It will help you get roll catches, and especially when using the Follower Sabre, as the rapier hit is slightly quicker and is harder to parry than the Follower Sabre's slashing attacks. I have found personally that I like the S-stock best, as it's got slightly longer range than the normal rapier, and by switching to two-handed, I do gain access to the shield splitter weapon art. And whilst this isn't good compared to the other shield splitter weapon arts, it still complements that aggressive playstyle and can be used to deal a significant amount of damage with high burst. What other weapons can we use then? I've also found spears can have a useful effect. Opponents will often try and roll into you when using thrusting attacks on a spear. This can very easily be punished by Follower Sabre R1s, and then by switching to the weapon art, a nice roll catch. While we're on the topic of spears, let's talk about the Partisan. The weapon art on the Partisan, for those who don't know, is completely unparryable. When paired with the Follower Sabre, a weapon in which every attack you use can be parried, this is invaluable. By using it against the parry spammer, you can very easily punish them. This benefits your Follower Sabre gameplay in the long run because they're less likely to want to try to go for those parries knowing you have a Partisan in your offhand. To finish this section, I would like to give my general thought that, in my opinion, using the Follower Sabre with another weapon is not actually very good. Using a shield with the weapon skill works because you have access to the one-handed moveset and the weapon art, but by losing the weapon art, that one key thing, you really do weaken your Follower Sabre gameplay. And I'm not saying you shouldn't use other weapons. You have no idea how happy it would make me to see a bunch of people in duels using a Follower Sabre in one hand and a Man-Serpent Hatchet in the other. Now, this is definitely not the meta way to play, but in a game with a meta this stale, why not do it? Why not have some fun with this weapon? Couldn't hurt to try, right? But actually, I have left one weapon out. A sort of guilty pleasure of mine. And that would be another Follower Sabre. In fact, let me tell you a little story. I rushed into New Game Plus just to find myself a second Follower Sabre, but the sad truth is that when I showed it to my friends with pride shining in my eyes, wanting to show them this genius idea I had, this was how my brilliant idea was received.
2 Follower Sabres is a dumb setup. Do you know why?
Why?
You have no weapon art, and when you do R1, R1, L2, L2 for the R1, basically the light attacks on the other Follower Sabre, it's extremely predictable. You're gaining nothing.
After listening to this blatant slander of the best weapon in the game, I then go on to obliterate him a second time, and whilst I do agree with the statement that you lose the weapon art, this is the case for all other weapons you have in your offhand. And it is more than easy just to press the Y button on your controller and switch to that two-handed moveset. In fact, I have found that using a second Follower Sabre actually makes it harder for the enemies to parry you. They're often expecting that R1, to come from your right hand. When it comes from your left, that is often a jarring realization for them that not everyone is following the R1, R1, R2 meta. But what about those times that don't go into these montages, the times when your opponent is smart? What about those times? Well, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, you are going to die.
Saying that, I probably won't even get one.
What? Very nice!
Lies.
Oh
Lies.
god, I'm actually going to cry. So I'm putting that in the video, you being like, now that I say that I'm not going to get a katana parry, proceeds to katana parry my first attack. But don't worry guys, there's an entire section just on parrying on this video, so we'll get onto them later. So after my friend blatantly disregarded how amazing 2 Follower Sabres were, I went on to ask the Forge Discord server about if they were a good idea or not, and here's how that went down.
So you have chosen death.
I love democracy.
Nameless, I'm using my 2 Follower Sabres, you know that setup you love so much.
It's shit though. It's just the Follower Sabre but worse. You might as well just use one-handed with nothing in your offhand so you still have the weapon art.
Looks cool though. It's all about aesthetics to me.
It's all about the sex, yeah.
I can deal with dual-wield weapons, but not dual-wield weapons that have no advantage. I'm getting my ass kicked. Ow! What?
The heavy.
Did I even hit you?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
I'm getting beat up myself.
Stop. Actually, stop. I'm so bad.
No.
Bruh! I've actually been shat upon. This is embarrassing.
Hold on.
That's why you don't roll into a fucking rapier.
Yeah, okay, alright, okay.
a little more action. All this aggravation ain't satisfaction in me. A little more time, a little less fun, a little less fight, a little more spark. Oh, you might open up your heart and make it satisfy me. Satisfy me, baby. Oh, baby, I'm tired of talking. Grab your coat and let's start walking. Come on, come on.
1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3. I'm not finished shouting!
Oh, you got out. Wow.
Yeah, I'm surprised too. Oh, that is longer than I expected. Fuck! The timing on it is so weird.
Baby, I'm tired of talking. Grab your coat and let's start walking. Come on, 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 come on. Gonna take the lead, girl, let's get ready to sing with all this aggravation ain't satisfaction in me.
Now I know what you're thinking, this weapon sounds undefeatable, Satiety Cascade. How could I even go wrong when I'm using this? And while I'd like to say that the Follower Sabre is the best weapon in the game, that would be a lie, unfortunately. The Follower Sabre has the glaring weakness that every move on it is parryable except the jumping attack. That's just for all weapons in Dark Souls 3. As soon as you pull out this weapon, your opponent is immediately going to start going for parries, because using this weapon is like holding a giant red flag asking to be reposted. And if the footage playing in the background shows us anything, it's that once you get parried, the duel is pretty much over. You have lost so much of your health, and if they're wearing the Hornet Ring, that number is only going to increase. So what hope does your average Follower Sabre user have against someone with a round shield or a cestus? In this video chapter, we're going to have a look at that. Obviously, this is determined whether they can parry or not, but the Follower Sabre is incredibly easy to parry, and while it won't take many brain cells for them to, just press L2, it is going to take more than all your friends' brain cells combined, so around about 3, to tell your little fingers not to mash R1 and just walk straight into a riposte. Now, I can hear you all screaming at me, Satiety Cascade, the whole reason I'm using the Follower Sabre is so I do not have to use my brain cells. I want to be able to win Dark Souls 3 matches with relative ease. Well, this is not the right weapon for you, my friend. This is not the Pontiff Knight Curved Sword. This weapon relies on more than just the R1s. Whilst the R1s are harder to parry than the weapon art, we can't just stop using the weapon art altogether. That is our main DPS that we're getting. We can't just cut it out of our combos. And even if we did just relegate ourselves to R1, they're still relatively easy to parry. So the real question we should be asking ourselves is, how am I going to get any of my moves to connect when the opponent is using a parry tool? The answer may shock you, except not really. The simplest way is to simply vary your moveset. At your hands, you have running attacks, heavy attacks. Each heavy attack can be charged for a slightly different length of time. Using this allows you not only to roll catch, but also to avoid parrying. So learning these skills, learning how to time your heavy attacks, will not only improve your gameplay against parries, but also when doing wake ups or roll catches, or even when we talk back to the moveset, how we can use all these different moves in our combos to chain people to death. But let's say for some reason you're struggling to do just that. That's absolutely fine. But what can you do then? Well, the easiest option is to just simply force them to stop using the parrying tool. By throwing in some jumping attacks, by using those heavies, you can make it obvious that parrying isn't going to be as easy as it would usually be against somebody using a Follower Sabre. May I also introduce to you one-handing this weapon. By switching between the one-handed moveset, the R1 comes out slightly quicker. This can be used to throw your opponent off guard. Also, by using running attacks early on and then running straight up to their face and launching a heavy or a weapon arc can also help throw them off their game. Hopefully by utilizing all of these different things, you can avoid yourself being parried in every fight. However, I will just put a disclaimer here, it's not always going to work. Sometimes they will parry you and sometimes they're just better than you, and that's honestly an unfortunate truth about this weapon. Oh wait, you can parry that? Crap.
Of course you can parry that. It's a glaive, it's not an ultra great sword.
Get to that.
I did get right. Thanks guys. Thanks for the continued support. So, for this part of the video, we're just going to be looking at some example duels that I'm in, and I'm just going to be talking you through what is going through my head. So, I'm fighting my friend here. He is over-leveled, of course, that makes it lovely. I know that he's going to be doing some incredibly large damage numbers. He's using the Exile, so I know I've got to be safe, and right here, I get so aggressive that I use the weapon art when he clearly had enough stamina, and I've paid with most of my health bar. So now I know I've got to do the rest of this fight pretty much flawlessly. Spacing him is going to be key. As you can see, I'm just going for the R1s. I swapped to the single-handed moveset there, where the R1s are going to be coming out slightly quicker. By using this, I know that there's going to be more opportunities for me to get in hits. So now that I've chopped his health down a bit, the playing field is a little bit more even, much more manageable. He's playing very aggressive, and I'm still going for that space. I don't want to launch a weapon art yet, because it's not safe. And just by abusing those running attacks, making him come to me, we've been able to turn around a pretty much definite defeat into a win here. But I'm just going to slow down the footage here, and really let's just look at what happened. So he's coming at me with a jumping attack, and I'm just able to space that very easily. I don't want to go for a risky backstab because it's possible he could trade with me. So he changes plans and pulls out the Hektor Greatsword. However, that is just the same problem in the sense that I can easily space that because the swings are slow. Because he continued to use a heavy weapon throughout the fight, I could play very held back and I could just chip away at him very slowly until he died first. To further show how amazing the Follower Sabre is against heavy weapons, here we have another person using the Hektor. As you can see, they've used poison, so now I know I am on a time limit. I have to get this guy dead quickly. So I'm trying to swing away at him. I've gone one-handed moveset once again because I want that quick R1 speed because I do not want to be going for trades. So here I am trying to check my pouch for any moss clumps, and that leads me to panic run and get backstabbed. So I am at even less health. I now know for sure that this poison is going to kill me. So I now know I need to blitz this guy down as quickly as possible. I'm going for those running attacks, going for those single R1s. Oh, and he's using Perseverance too. What a surprise. Checking my pouch, I realize I have no purple moss clumps. So I know I just have to kill him as quickly as I can. Using these running R1s, I just quickly run at him. Whenever he goes for that running R1, I go for the single hit. He's almost dead now, and I get a lucky roll catch running R1 off him. I honestly did not think I was going to get that. I am so low health, but because he was using a nice heavy weapon, you can easily kite it by running back with nade push in and then going for your roll catch. The Follower Sabre has a deceptively large range, and that is what allows me to essentially outrange these huge weapons, which it looks like it's impossible to do. So we're just going to look at two more. Here I am spawning into Dragon Ruins. Now I'm up against a Moonlight Greatsword. You don't see these very often. Oh, and it looks like he's a caster as well. This is going to be fun. Going for a trade that I probably shouldn't have, and rolling the heavy. I switched to the one-handed to get those roll catch because, like I said, it's always easier with the one-handed moveset. Now, I'm trying to look for space here, and he uses Crystal Summon, so I bait that out. I actually noticed that he's using Farron Flash Sword, so that's another spell I know that he has in his arsenal. I go for some really stupid trades here, but I notice he's not wearing much armor, so I'm hoping I can blitz him down. He does not have the poise to tank through me, particularly if I get him in the stun lock. So now that's my goal here. He starts firing some Crystal Soul Spears, and I am incredibly low at this point. There's White Dragon Breath, and I'm really having to play safe right now. I'm looking for one good weapon art. I get a bit of chip damage in there. So I know one good weapon art will finish it. I just need to land it. He's playing really aggressive. I actually loved fighting this guy. So I get one in. I think this could be my opportunity. And I go for a trade, and I go for another one, and it's not quite enough. We both end up hitting the floor, and I made the clear mistake here of going for a trade when he clearly had stamina. However, that's not actually quite what happened. If we slow it down, you'll notice I didn't actually hit him with the following R1 from the weapon art. If I had hit, that would have killed him. Because of the stare pattern, I didn't actually quite hit him because I pushed through him when I used the weapon art. So when my character turned around, I didn't quite hit that R1. Honestly, great fight to that guy. Quite refreshing to fight a build that wasn't a straight sword. So for our final fight, we are in the Kiln of Flame, fighting someone wearing Ornstein's armor and one-handing a Saint Bident. This is going to be fun. And there's the lightning miracles. So I'm already terrified. I'm just going to slow it down here because I really want to talk about what's going through my head at this exact moment. So I'm trying to get behind them because they used the running R1. I'm trying to go for that backstab, and I get very greedy and try and chase up that backstab. They retaliate with a lightning miracle, and because I am using the Follower Sabre, I can then trade through their next R1 with the heavy downswing of the weapon art. And because that true combos, I'm able to get another R1 off. Now, they're almost at half health. This player obviously did not level Vigor. I'm playing a little bit more safe because I know I have the upper hand when it comes to health, so I can win these trades. I only need a few more hits to get them down, and there comes out the dreaded lightning arrow. So I'm feeling a little bit scared now. I don't want them to start spamming that, so I start playing much more aggressively so they can't just chip away at my health from range. And fortunately, I get the backstab off because they went for 2 consecutive R1s, and I tried to go for Follow Sabre weapon art wake up. However, I initiated it slightly too early, so I didn't land it. And would you believe it? They switched to Wolnir's Great Sword. I don't think I've ever seen anyone use this sword in PvP, so that's definitely one of the weapon switches of all time. But unfortunately for them, that switch has put them against the wall, and I'm able to get a running R1 off. Honestly, respect to anyone crazy enough to use Wolnir's Holy Sword in any sort of Dark Souls 3 scene, especially in 2023. So respect to you, Alpine Ragware. Keep doing what you're doing. You are honestly saving the Dark Souls 3 meta from all these lightning arrow users, and I love you for that.
Soup.
So, as we get to the end of the video, I guess I just wanted to give final thoughts on the weapon and the state of the game as a whole. Dark Souls 3 is losing players, and it's definitely not the same game that it was back when it was released in 2016. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Games come and they go, but I really had fun with this game, and I am still having fun, especially with the Follower Sabre, this one weapon that for some reason I have managed to sink hundreds of hours into and not get bored. And I think what I'd like people to take away from this video is that while the game may change, there is still only one Dark Souls 3, and we should be thankful that it is still here, unlike a huge plethora of other games. I think if we can try and find the fun in this game, whether that's using one weapon to an insane amount, or using funny different builds, or trying everything you can possibly do, I think doing that is really the best way to enjoy this game and appreciate it for what it is. And I think it's very easy to forget that with the game being so toxic and competitive as it can be sometimes. Don't get me wrong, it is fun to be competitive and try really hard and get better at the game, but I think it's important to know why this game was made, and sometimes your opponent's just having a really good day. That is not a true combo, that's disgusting.
Facing the mirror is all I need.
What, the R1 to heavy on the Black Knight Great Axe?
Yeah! I didn't know.
As in the, like,
the weapon
buff
arted.
heavy.
Yeah, the buff heavy.
Yeah.
That's a true.
Welcome to the Great Axe.
No, I missed time.
I hit you with the flip.
That's so annoying. Bruh, oh well. GG's. Thank you for playing. GG's. Hey, what's going on everybody? You have made it to the end of the video. Congratulations. This has been a video idea that I've been planning to make for a long time, and I'm just really happy with how it turned out. So before we start, I'd just like to say a big super thank you to Anti, Nameless and Zal, 3 people who've really helped me playing this game and have stuck with me and have pretty much been here since day one, so thank you very much to them. They're in every single one of my Dark Souls 3 videos. And onto some more different news. This is probably going to be the last video that I make on Dark Souls 3, at least the last one that is going to have this much time and effort put into. I may still make the occasional montage here and there, but I plan to start playing Elden Ring soon, so you can guarantee that there is going to be some content on that, hopefully, as well as some other games that are in a different ballpark to Dark Souls, but I hope you enjoy them, because they're games that I'm passionate about, and I'd like to make content for them. So you won't really see many more Dark Souls videos, but like I said, the occasional montage maybe here or there. But I just like to say thank you for watching this, and I hope you had a good time and that it was enjoyable for you, because I really had a blast making this. It was a long project in the works, but I don't regret any of it. So hope you have a good night, a good evening, a good morning, and see you around.
Ow. I thought I didn't. What? Okay, so I didn't roll that, but the damage took a moment.
That looks very
funky
very
tonight. We have a funny connection.
We have
today.
funny connection this evening.